Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by Linode. You can build it on Linode. Get started today with $100 in free credit for MacVoices listeners and viewers at linode.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is part two of a two-part MacVoices Live discussion with a panel of experts, or at least people with lots of opinions, on a couple different things. In the first edition, we speculated, as you have to do before the upcoming Apple event, and got into a discussion of what a HomePod Mini might be and why it might be a very successful product. This time, though, we shift to a couple more serious subjects, and one I think that you really need to be informed about. So let's get back to the panel. All right, well, since we're talking about music, unfortunately, we found out today that we lost Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
And while this is this is a tech podcast, but at the same time, Eddie Van Halen, I think, defined a generation of guitarists. And interestingly, it came along at a time when, just a little before, but it was so important, I think, to so many of us that are Apple fans now. So go around the room, and everybody, if I don't care what you want to say about it, but we'll make it short and then we'll move on to tech. But one recognition of Eddie Van Halen, and I'll keep the order before. David?
Masterful, just an amazing guitarist, and I still think about the video "Hot for Teacher" when he's running down that table, playing that guitar. That's the most memorable thing I ever saw, and I saw him in concert too. And I saw him when Sammy Hagar was with the band, and just amazing guitarist. I'm just sad, very sad.
Yeah. Frank?
He's probably the only guitarist I ever saw that would play that fast that I didn't feel they were doing it as a gimmick.
Yeah.
It just somehow felt like that was just natural for him. Whereas some people, it's like, I want to impress you with how fast I can play. No, that's just the way he played. And that impressed me to no end.
Yeah. Kelly?
I think you didn't have to be a fan of their music, of Van Halen, to listen to them and be impressed by the guitar. And, and you don't have to. Like, you can hear, he has the guitar solo in Beat It, for example, a super popular Michael Jackson song. That was Eddie Van Halen. And there, he was one of those people that, like, his talent transcended all the rest of it. It doesn't matter if you like Van Halen. It doesn't matter if you like rock music. Sit down and listen to Hot for Teacher, listen to Dance the Night Away, Eruption, and you will hear a guitar player like no other. Like, I remember listening to them as a kid when because they came out. I was pretty young, and listening to those records was definitely something I was not supposed to be hearing. And so on top of it sort of being illicit, it was also like amazing. It was like the first time I really heard what somebody could make the guitar do, because you could hear it on the radio. And I didn't live someplace where they were playing a lot of Hendrix or Led Zeppelin on the radio at that point. So to go back and listen to some of that kind of stuff, he's up there easily. He's up there with those people. Somebody I saw earlier said that he practiced all the time, and he seemed like the kind of person who would have the guitar next to the bed just in case, and that's always kind of, he struck me like that. But he also seemed like a pretty good dude overall. And so it's very sad that he is gone. I think it was not entirely surprising to people who were close to him, but it's still a huge loss.
Agreed. Brittany?
I might know the least about music of any person who's ever walked this earth. But you guys have inspired me to go learn something when we're done.
Well, listen.
Okay. I'll make you a playlist on Apple Music. Just find a decent speaker, and
I don't.
And I'll help you out.
Yeah.
She's a speaker.
Guy?
I think that the saddest part, besides his actual passing, is that he spent pretty much the last 10 years of his life mostly in exile. he never really reconciled with that I know of with Valerie Bertinelli or Sammy Hagar or some of the other people who had been important.
Anthony.
Yeah, Michael Anthony.
Anthony.
There's a great bass player and was a big part of the Van Halen sound. I don't think there was a better backing vocal that played bass than Michael Anthony.
No.
And whatever demons that were resonant in his soul have now been put to rest. And it's just sad that there won't be any more Eddie Van Halen. There won't be any more Van Halen albums. There won't be any new, whether you're a David Lee Roth or a Sammy Hagar fan, that there won't be anything new coming from a group of guys that had so much talent that came together at the right time.
Well, and his son's Wolfgang will continue his legacy, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, he's got his own band.
Right.
Well, he's been playing bass in Van Halen since like 07.
He was like 16, 17.
Yeah.
Wolfie.
A long time. Yeah.
Well, I'll wrap it up. I remember walking into a record store when I was in college, and I think Eruption was playing, and I asked the guy, "What was that?" And he told me, and I went, and I could take you right now to, if the building is still standing, I could take you to the building, where in the building, and the rack that I picked up that album from. I've absolutely, I love Van Halen, and I'm probably unfortunately one of the few people that I think all three lead singers for Van Halen were great. They just were all three dynamite. Because there's always
it's not by accident either.
Yeah, but there's always a debate over who was best. Gary Sharon always gets overlooked. See, there's a Hagar fan, and I don't even want to get into that debate because they all, if you judge them on their own, they were all great. But Eddie was always there with that sound.
Sharon was a great singer. I think that if they had a chance to come out with a second album, that he would have won over a lot of people to the Van Halen sound. But
I don't think he got enough chance to do
what he
was really capable of doing.
He really didn't, because if you listen to a lot of the music that he did while he was with Extreme, some of those albums were just incredible.
Great harmony.
And oddly enough, the place that I bought my very first Van Halen album was Peaches Records and Tape in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Mm-hmm. And now it's a Hustler nightclub. So I don't know what that has to do with anything, but that's, this is the life that people live in Fort Lauderdale. What's nice and wholesome one day becomes some kind of weird gentleman's club the next. So,
but
South Florida.
Eddie would probably approve of that, Guy. So
Peaches or the Hustlers nightclub?
Both.
Hustler, because they're probably still playing Van Halen.
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah.
We won't go there.
Yeah. Still playing Hot for Teacher. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Back to Tuck.
Eddie, thanks for so much great music. So much great music.
Is my camera working?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Why did you do something that I missed?
No. I hadn't seen it come up in the feed.
Oh.
Yep. It's there.
Okay. You're there. Yeah. And all your
for some reason though.
I was going to say, I just noticed it, Frank. You're right.
What?
Your picture is reversed unless your shirt is.
Oh yeah. This is a weird setup I've got going on right here. This is my 2014 MacBook Pro connected to this secondary 15.6-inch monitor. I'm using Epoch Cam on my iPhone for my video cam and the microphone that's in the iPhone. So it's my never-ending quest to use different equipment every single time I do something with a podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say, when did you ever run a normal setom?
Never, ever.
Never.
You don't have a usual, I don't think.
No, well, that kind of defines my life. I'm unusual. I don't think anyone can disagree with that.
Oh Lord, let's not get back into that, please. Okay, so let's move on here. For our chat room folks, I'm going to try to throw a link in to MacRumors story that we started to discuss in the pre-show, and that is the U.S. Antitrust Committee likens tech companies, including Apple, to quote oil barons and railroad tycoons, unquote. Now, this just was breaking right before the show, so I don't think any of us have had a chance to read a lot of it. But what I've been able to look at here raises my blood pressure a little. And I'm curious to see if I'm the only one whose blood pressure is up over this. Frank?
It's kind of weird. My first thought was I originally started with Apple as a reviewer for user group newsletters back when dinosaurs were running the earth. And my whole premise was from going to Macworld that, okay, Microsoft, Apple, Adobe, they all had deep pockets. And what I wanted to do was write reviews of software by developers who didn't have the means. So as much as there's part of me that goes, yeah, I appreciate the benefit of what their size allows them to do and bring to us, there's another side of me that also goes, yeah, but I sort of worry about the little guy. So I don't know exactly where I stand on this.
Okay, that's fair. And that probably helps balance out me, who is grossly offended by some of what I've read so far.
I'm offended just reading this piece about the subcommittee determining that Apple has a monopoly when it comes to distribution of iOS apps on iOS devices. It's their platform. Of course they have. They control it. That was what they chose. Why isn't Google mentioning this? Google has the Google Play Store. They have
on their operating system too.
I think that it's kind of a catch-all if you look at the way that the first paragraph is worded. They're talking about tech companies in general have become monopolies. Mm-hmm. The problem is the people who write these kinds of stories and develop policy typically don't understand what it is that they're developing policy for. So
precisely. Yeah.
So the people that are saying this, I don't think they look at a smartphone and they say, oh, well, it's a smartphone, and Apple and iOS and Android and whatever else is out there is all the same, and there's no difference, and so they should all just intermingle and make all their stuff compatible with one another. And it's like, you just don't get it. You don't understand the technology. It's not even a matter of competition. It's Android and iOS are diametrically opposed in the philosophy of what they're trying to do with their technology. Apple is about making as much money as they possibly can, but at the same time giving you your privacy, making sure that as best as they possibly can, all the other companies that feed into iOS don't learn that much about you. Whereas Android is like, yeah, come on, everybody come to the table. We're going to sell all these relatively inexpensive phones. And the offset of that will be, you'll know exactly what Guy bought on Amazon, which was this beautiful 15.6-inch monitor, secondary monitor. And then you can take advertising and cram that toward him until he buys something else. So, it's not that these devices are doing different things. It's just that the philosophy behind why they're even there is completely different.
True.
But it's also worrisome because they're going to want to legislate, and they're going to want to try and pass laws and take action about this. And I am not convinced, because I went and took a quick scan of the members of the House Committee on the Judiciary, and I'm not able to find the subcommittee yet, but I don't know a whole lot about the people on the committee, and I can't guarantee that they have a fundamental understanding of what it is they're trying to legislate. It sounds like somebody told someone in the House that Google and Apple and Facebook make a lot of money, and we should be worried about it because they're probably doing something illegal. And that's not necessarily the case. I mean, like, if you want to talk about Facebook, that's a completely separate conversation.
Yes.
But Facebook and Google have
Yeah.
similar business models, which is that a regular person can use that service for no money because you are trading access to the data generated by your usage of that service to them in order for them to sell it, and that's how they make money. That's not how Apple makes money. And Apple is not a monopoly in anything. They don't have a majority share of the computer market, like the desktop laptop market. They don't have the majority share of the phone market. They might have the majority share of tablet markets, but that's just because like nobody else makes a tablet except I think maybe Samsung, because Samsung makes everything in like every imaginable size.
If you call it a tablet.
I mean, so, you know, and then the watch, like, ooh, if Apple dominating the smartwatch market is a problem, then like, why hasn't Swatch been in for hearings, you know, for my entire life? Like, come on.
Casio.
So,
but it's not just
why is Casio not the one there?
Watches, period.
Yeah. So there's more to this story, and I don't know how, and that's why I don't know how I feel about it yet, because I don't know if they have a clear handle on what it is they're trying to legislate. Because everybody says, well, Apple's a big tech company too, so we're going to put them in the same boat as Facebook and Google, because as soon as we say Apple, everybody pays attention. And when you say Facebook and data, everybody rolls their eyes and goes, yeah, we know, and then goes back to watching whatever they were watching before. Yeah. And you have to say Apple to get people's attention. And so I think Apple gets dragged into a lot of this stuff sort of just so that the attention is there, so that there are headlines about it. Because would anybody have known about this report if they hadn't put Apple in it? No.
Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by Linode. You can build it on Linode. Get started today with $100 in free credit for MacVoices viewers and listeners at linode.com/MacVoices. Over the past few weeks, I've had some less than stellar experiences with various companies' websites. Sometimes the website looked like it came from the 90s. Sometimes the links didn't work. Sometimes it was just so slow that I decided to go looking for an alternative who could deliver a similar product. Be honest, do those descriptions fit your business's website or sites? If so, then you need Linode to help give you the foundation for a new, modern, fast website. Simple, affordable, and in-the-cloud Linux virtual machines help make that new site the best it can be. And if you suddenly get hit with a massive demand for your product or service, Linode can scale faster and easier than the competition. You don't have to be a server genius either. Linode's one-click installs get you started with just about any enterprise server you can think of in seconds. Not hours, not minutes, seconds. And it gets better. Right now, as a MacVoices listener or viewer, by visiting linode.com/MacVoices, you can get $100 in free credit. That's $100 credit on not just your website, but on things like S3-compatible storage, managed Kubernetes, and more. Find out all the details and get your $100 credit at linode.com/MacVoices. linode.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Linode for their support of MacVoices. Well, I don't know about that. I do want to say Barry in the chat room said the headline is hyperbole, and I agree with that, but it's the content that really gets me. I mean, I've kind of gotten over the hyperbolic headlines, you know, because everybody's trying to get the eyeballs. But you know, looking at this, I mean, so let me just read from this article, which is quoting the report. So this apparently, as MacRumors is posturing, is from the report. Although
CNBC.
These four CNBC, excuse me, thanks, David. Although these four corporations differ in important ways, studying their business practices has revealed common problems. First, each platform now serves as a gatekeeper over a key channel of distribution. By controlling access to markets, these giants can pick winners and losers throughout our economy. They not only wield tremendous power, but they also abuse it by charging exorbitant fees, imposing oppressive contract terms, and extracting valuable data from the people and businesses that rely on them. Now, I could go on, but I'll stop there. And it's like, oh my God, you know what?
Yeah.
You know, I almost don't know what to say here. I'm kind of so speechless because
they got
controlling
real close. They're different in important ways. Yes, they are.
And it's important ways that make them not monopolies. You know, you may as well say, well, let's see, Target sells stuff to make a profit. Damn Target, how dare they? How dare Target and Walmart sell stuff to make a profit? What?
Well, and I can't walk into Walmart and put something on a shelf and sell it. And so is Walmart a monopoly against me?
Yeah,
exactly, Kelly. There, and this is what it feels, because we had a discussion a little while ago about about the rights of people to publish to different platforms.
Chuck is getting pissed.
Yeah, I
was on with Chuck when we were talking about this before.
Yeah.
So
and
Chuck and I have had this throwdown once already.
Yeah, but it makes me crazy because if you don't want to, you can't publish to the iPhone if you don't agree to Apple's terms. That's fine. Then go and develop for Android. It is not a monopoly. Why is it that everybody is entitled to have access to everything? That's the case, for free. If that's the case, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate and House, please leave your front doors open tonight so anybody can walk in, because they have the right to see, where you sleep and what kind of carpet you have.
Taxpayers are paying for their salary, so that's right.
And I realize that's extreme, folks, but it just, the same kind of mentality is bringing this, that everybody has the right to have access to everything all the time. Doesn't matter whether they've bought it or earned it. Right. And that's just plain that's crazy.
It's the entitled to that is the part that rankles with me particularly, because I have the right to choose with whom I'm going to enter into a legally binding relationship. Because when you click accept on a developer agreement, even if it's free, it's a legal thing, and you are bound to abide by those rules to do the thing you want to do, the end. That's how it works. That's the point. So if I want to develop for Android, I have to click OK on the developer agreement from Google and agree to a certain amount of things. And I have to do the same thing if I want to develop on iOS or on macOS. I have to do the same thing when I accept the Apple developer agreement. So and I'm assuming, that everybody that gets to sell on a shelf at Walmart, at Target, whatever, they all have to enter into some sort of agreement. We're going to give you this much space, or we're going to let you sell this many things, or whatever it is. And and Walmart, Target, whatever, they get a percentage of whatever it is that comes off of those shelves. They're not just giving me shelf space for free and letting me sell whatever it is that I'm selling and then not taking a cut. Well, that's not inside the store. That's not on a shelf inside the store. That's a separate thing.
That's in Colorado.
Oh, yeah.
But they still have to have permission. I mean, that's Guy. Right. That I know that was a flip comment, but that's a really interesting point. The Girl Scouts still have to have permission from the store to set up outside.
To be okay.
See, now I want Thin Mints
because those are the right Girl Scout cookies.
Oh,
I love a Samoa, but Thin Mints are where it's at. Yeah.
Coconut and stripy chocolate. Yum.
Yum.
Brittany, you're the calmest head here. Please bring us down. Calm us down.
Bring our attention back.
I'll tell you where the real scary thing is. You make it so that no American companies want to be the owner of a platform anymore. The only ones that are left are the Chinese ones.
There you go.
There you go.
And that's that. I mean, in some ways, that's already happening when you look at.
Look at Huawei. I mean, look at.
Well, yeah, but TikTok
and
WeChat and some of the other ones. These, in some way, without going too far down the tinfoil hat brigade, there is some talk that these are extensions of the Chinese government, and
I don't have to imagine very hard for that.
I know. Well, I mean, I was in. You know what? I'm going to stop. I was about to tell an anecdote that probably isn't relevant.
Well, to your point, though, guys, the thing about it is that they may be extensions of the Chinese government. They may not.
Right.
But we'll never know, because all we have is the word of the company, whether or not they are associated with the Chinese government. There's no way to independently verify any of that, there is here. So here, for example, Apple is publicly traded, Google is publicly traded, Facebook is publicly traded. There's a certain amount of documentation and visibility into the company that happens by virtue of them being listed on the stock market. So there's a certain amount of stuff that you can know for sure about Apple or Google or Facebook or Netflix or whoever else if you're willing to sit down and do the reading. And it's not fun. I've done it for stories and things I've worked on in the past. I do not recommend it unless you have insomnia, and then right to sleep. But but the information is available, and it's there for people who want to see it. And we don't have that with the Chinese government. And like, if our own government wants to audit a company that is in our own country, that's one thing. But good luck trying to go to TikTok and go tell us who your top investors are. Tell us what your forward-looking statements are. You know, give us the guidance for the next. Never gonna happen. They are going to
just
as they shut the door on you.
Just go to Beijing, knock on their door. I'm sure that they'll be more than happy to give you any information that you're requesting.
Yeah, and we'll totally see you again.
Yes.
Yes, and you will totally come back from that trip with souvenirs and stories to tell. It's not gonna happen.
Back to the monopoly thing, like comparing it to the railroad is not fair. You could not move stuff quickly except on a train. Like, it was your only option. It's a very, very different thing.
And the lines, the
early 20th century,
the railroad lines themselves were owned by the particular shipping companies. So if you wanted to move something from here to California, and you wanted it to get there in one particular direction where you could only use a particular railroad company. If you wanted to go the southern route, you had to choose a different railroad company.
Yep.
It wasn't like you could say, I'm going to take this B&O car and I'm going to put it on the Pacific Northwest train. No, that's not how it worked.
Nope.
Whereas you can jump between Android and iOS with almost any app you want to name, and be able to pretty much do this exact same thing. So to call it a monopoly, especially with Apple having less than 20%, it's ludicrous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I can't get past the part, the fact that you sign agreements with Apple if you want to do some of these things and abide by them. If I go for a mortgage on my house, all right, I'm signing a contract, and I have to do certain things in that contract, or I can be penalized, or have the loan revoked. And the same thing if I go enter into just about anything. There are terms and conditions and agreements between these companies, and just because somebody decides they don't want to pay, what they agreed they were going to pay. I mean, if I decide, hey, you know what, bank, the house isn't working out the way I wanted to, I'm only going to pay you back half the money. How well do you think that's going to go down?
Not real well.
And that's what it feels like here. And Brittany, you stole one of my comments because, comparing this, I'm not even going to address the oil baron, but the railroad tycoons is just a silly statement. That's one to just punch somebody's button, and say, oh my God, that's terrible. We have to shut them down.
Just shows the knowledge of the House and House Representatives of what they have.
Also, I'm really, really happy that they're spending their time on this instead of maybe protecting our digital privacy.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Or literally anything else that might actually do some good for people in the. I don't know if anyone in the House has looked outside, but it's all kind of a 2020 out there, and like maybe you could do something about that. I mean, Anyway.
Well, and it's I'm proud of you guys because we have not turned this into a political discussion.
Can we please?
Because they're all equally dumb, Chuck.
Yeah. Well, no, but that was the only concern I had about bringing this up, and you guys have, and we've all stayed well away from it because we're not saying this is a right issue or a left issue. This is an intelligence information issue that you have to understand where and what and how. And I want to find out who's on the U.S. House Judiciary Antitrust Subcommittee and say, hey guys, I've got a panel of 5 people here and I'm number 6, and we'll come to you and we'll talk to you and we'll explain this, and then you can fact check us and see what you think. But you clearly do not understand what's going on.
They're good at reading the little print about things, but not so much at which end of computer goes up.
I think every one of them has probably read all of the iTunes terms and conditions, but I think that they just sort of looked at that as like the worst possible outcome of all of the things that you could be doing. I don't know. Anyway, it's like on its face, it sounds ludicrous. And like you said, Chuck, invoking, railroad barons and all this kind of stuff, like, sweetie, no. like, there is absolutely a conversation to be had here. There's absolutely a discussion that needs to take place. It is not the one that they're trying to have about, breaking up Apple or whatever it is. Ooh, look at Guy switching to multicam format over there.
Yeah, my Epic Cam just broke, so I switched over to my.
Now his shirt's right.
Yeah, now your shirt's
Well,
correct.
we're not surprised.
Yeah. Well, it really comes down to this: Tim Sweeney is an ass. So that's really what it comes down to. Don't play Fortnite. Epic Games sucks.
Okay, on that positive note, we're pretty much out of time. And I want to make sure we go around and let everybody know where they can find you when you're not here trying to set Congress straight, which is something that I think we would all volunteer to do right now, at least on this issue.
With the back of my hand.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll go around the room again in the same order. Folks, where can we find you, David Ginsburg?
Find me at In Touch with iOS, intouchwithios.com, and on Twitter at DaveG65.
Dave, thanks for being here. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. Yes, always a pleasure.
Mr. Frank Petrie.
I still owe you money. You can find me on Screencast Online. I write a monthly review, and I then have a blog, ympnow.com, and you can find me on just about any social media at F. Petrie.
Great. Thanks for being here, Frank.
Thank you for having me.
Ms. Guimont.
You can find me most weekdays over at the Mac Observer, hosting the Mac Observer Daily Observations podcast. You are about to find me on the latest episode of Let's Talk Apple, hosted by Bart Buchatz. You can occasionally... Oh, such a good show. You can occasionally find me over at The Incomparable, where I sometimes talk about Star Wars and sometimes talk about all number of other things. You can, where I have a show called Greetings from the Uncanny Valley about Westworld with my friend Don Melton. And the rest of the time, you can find me occasionally putting together an episode of The After Show with my friend Mike Rose at the After Show at aftershowpodcast.com. And because I don't have enough to say, you can also find me at Verso on Twitter.
Great. Thanks for being here, Kelly. The lady with the dead cat,
Chuck.
Ms. Smith.
It's Master Smith.
Master Smith, excuse me.
Wow.
I stand corrected. Wow.
I'm just teasing you, Chuck. You can find me at ADD Liberator on Twitter. And is it okay if I give a plug for a conference?
Please.
Yeah.
If you have anyone in your life with ADHD, I highly recommend the International Conference on ADHD. It is the first week of November. Registration is open, and pending committee approval, I have a video on how to register coming out. And and it's the place with the leading experts on ADHD, sharing their expertise. It's a place to connect with other people. It's a really awesome thing.
Brittany, is that an in-person conference or virtual this year?
It is 2020. It's virtual.
It's virtual. Okay.
Normally it is in person, but this year it is virtual.
Okay. Are you speaking or presenting or whatever else?
I am. Yeah.
Doing?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm doing a thing on
Nice.
Health apps.
Dead cats.
Great.
No dead cats in that one.
So bring egg yolks and breadcrumbs.
Yeah. Well, Brittany, hey, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And good luck. I'm sure that sounds like
Sounds like
a really good thing and a really interesting thing. So, and I'm sure we have one or two ADHD people on the panel.
And it is ADHD Awareness Month. So
I thought that was a requirement to be on the panel.
But Chuck hosts it.
The voice of reason.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Mr. Guy, I feel like I want to introduce you that way because that way you sound like a hairstylist to the stars.
Yeah. This is everybody. Hairstylist to the stars. My old man ponytail. You can find me most weekends doing the mymac.com podcast, as I have for like the last 12 years with Gary Gazmaz Malpaz. I also do Mac to the Future on Wednesday nights with Mr. David Ginsburg there, and occasionally Warren Sklar when he will bring a better microphone to the table. I also do something very, very weird where I record myself live on Facebook while driving to work. It's called Guy's Daily Drive, but I don't do it every day, so that makes it even weirder. You can also find me on the Twitters. I am Mac Parrot and Vert Shark over on the Twitters. I have a website, vertshark.com, where you can find all the audios and videos. And of course, you can also go over to the YouTubes and like, share, subscribe. Over there on the YouTubes, I just look up Vert Shark there, and you'll just see all the insane stuff that I do. Thank you. Yeah.
All Guy, all the time.
Yeah, that's right.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices Live. We will be back again next Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, to do it. We'd love to have you join us in the chat room or the Zoom room, whatever you're comfortable with. And yeah, I think that's going to be a wrap for tonight. So thank you to the chat room for joining us. Thank you everyone who watched live. If you weren't able to catch it live, this will be in the MacVoices feeds as soon as I can fit it in, because it seems like there's just a lot of great stuff going on and a lot of great people to talk to. So I'm a little behind, but don't worry, it'll get there. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.